When your own husband becomes your silent killer, how long does it take to realize you're not sick, you're being murdered? But the most terrifying part was still coming. I presided over thousands of cases in my 30 years on the bench. Murder, fraud, betrayal. I thought I'd seen every form of human cruelty. But the case of Sarah Mitchell versus David Mitchell shook me to my core. Not because of the crime itself, but because of how perfectly he disguised murder as love. The defendant sat before me, a 54-year-old accountant in a Navy suit, looking like any other suburban husband, the kind of man who coaches Little League and mows his lawn every Saturday, the kind of man you trust with your children, your home, your life. But for 5 months, David Mitchell had been systematically poisoning his wife with small doses of arsenic, watching her deteriorate while playing the role of devoted, worried husband. Sarah Mitchell first appeared in my courtroom not as a victim, but as evidence. The prosecution wheeled in chart after chart documenting her decline, medical records, symptom diaries, toxicology reports that painted a picture of calculated cruelty. She was 52, an interior designer with her own successful business, married for 23 years to the man who was slowly killing her. When she took the stand, her voice was steady, but I could see the tremors in her hands, not from fear, but from months of arsenic coursing through her system. Your Honor, I want the court to understand that I trusted this man with my life, literally. Every morning for 5 months, I drank poison because the person I loved most in the world gave it to me. But the most terrifying part was still coming. The evidence presented was methodical, horrifying in its precision. David had researched arsenic poisoning for over a year, learning exactly how much to administer without causing immediate death. Small doses, mixed into her morning coffee, just enough to make her sick, weak, dependent. Dr. Peterson, Sarah's family physician, testified first, clearly shaken by his role in the near murder. She came to me repeatedly with symptoms I couldn't explain. Headaches, nausea, hair loss, neurological issues. Every test came back normal. I told her it was stress. His voice cracked as he continued. She trusted me to help her, and I missed the signs that could have saved her life. The prosecutor, District Attorney Williams, displayed Sarah's medical timeline on a large screen. Dr. Peterson, looking at this pattern now, what do you see? Classic chronic arsenic poisoning, he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. If I had tested for heavy metals initially, we would have caught this in week 1. Sarah's best friend, Lisa Crawford, testified about the dramatic change in her friend's appearance. I barely recognized her by month 4. She'd lost 30 pounds, her skin was gray, her hands shook constantly. When I suggested she get a second opinion, David would intercept the conversation, saying they'd seen everyone, that it was just stress. That's when the pattern started to make sense. Detective Rodriguez took the stand next, describing the search of the Mitchell home. We found arsenic-based rat poison hidden in the defendant's workshop. 5 different brands purchased from different stores over 6 months. Always cash transactions, always when Mrs. Mitchell was at work. But the most damning evidence came from Sarah's symptom diary, the journal her friend Lisa had suggested she keep. Day after day, the same pattern, feeling fine until her morning coffee, then hours of debilitating symptoms. The breakthrough came, Rodriguez continued, when Mrs. Mitchell realized she felt better on weekends. That's when we discovered the defendant had a different routine on Saturdays and Sundays. He slept in, she made her own coffee. I watched David throughout this testimony. He sat motionless, his lawyer whispering urgently in his ear, but his face revealed nothing. The mask of the caring husband had finally slipped, replaced by cold calculation. Subscribe now, you won't believe what the victim discovered in her own home. The most chilling evidence came from Sarah's own investigation. When she testified about finding the folder in David's office, the courtroom fell silent. I was organizing his workspace as a surprise, she said, her voice gaining strength. Behind his computer, I found printed articles about arsenic poisoning, purchase receipts for rat poison, and a life insurance policy I'd never signed. District Attorney Williams held up the insurance documents. Mrs. Mitchell, when did you allegedly
simply sign this policy increasing your coverage to $500,000. I never did, Sarah replied firmly. My signature was forged. I recognized David's handwriting. He'd practiced my signature on the margins of some of the medical articles. The forgery expert confirmed Sarah's suspicions. David had practiced her signature dozens of times, perfecting it for the insurance fraud that would complete his plan. The evidence was right there, and no one saw it. Monica Stevens, David's mistress, was the prosecution's most crucial witness. A 34-year-old paralegal from his accounting firm, she took the stand wearing a black dress and shame that couldn't be hidden. Her testimony revealed the depth of David's deception. He told me his wife was dying, some kind of rare illness that doctors couldn't diagnose. He seemed so devastated, so caring. I felt sorry for him. Williams pressed harder. Did the defendant ever discuss his wife's death with you? He said it was inevitable, that she was suffering, and it might be a blessing when it was over. I thought he was grieving in advance. When did you learn about the life insurance money? 2 weeks before his arrest. He said when Sarah passed, we'd have enough money to start fresh somewhere new. He already had houses picked out, neighborhoods where no one would know us. Monica's voice broke. I thought I was comforting a man who was losing his wife. I never imagined he was killing her.
Then came the confession that changed everything. When David finally took the stand in his own defense, I expected denial, excuses, maybe even tears. Instead, I got something that stunned everyone in my courtroom. Your Honor, he said, his voice calm and measured, I want to change my plea to guilty. His own lawyer looked shocked. The prosecutor paused mid-question. I called for a recess to ensure he understood the implications. When we reconvened, David looked directly at Sarah for the first time during the trial. I'm guilty of attempted murder. I poisoned my wife because I wanted to be with Monica, and I was too much of a coward to ask for a divorce. The courtroom was silent, except for Sarah's quiet gasp. I researched the perfect crime, planned it methodically, and executed it over 5 months. If Sarah hadn't kept that diary, if she hadn't demanded the right test, I would have succeeded. Hit that like button if you believe justice should be swift and absolute. But David's confession revealed even darker depths. I wanted her dependent on me. The sicker she got, the more grateful she became for my care. She'd thank me for bringing her coffee, for staying home with her, for being patient with her weakness. He paused, and for a moment, something that might have been regret flickered across his face. The life insurance would have given Monica and me a fresh start. Sarah was already sick all the time. I thought it would look natural. Sarah's daughter Jessica, home from college, testified about her father's manipulation. He told me Mom was having a breakdown, that I shouldn't visit because it would upset her. He said the doctors thought she might be developing early dementia. Jessica's voice shook with anger. I believed him. I stayed away from my own mother when she needed me most because my father convinced me I was hurting her by being there. The final twist no one expected. The toxicologist report revealed the full scope of David's plan. Mrs. Mitchell would have died within 4 to 6 weeks, Dr. Andrew Hayes testified. The defendant had calculated the exact progression. Her organs were beginning to fail. Her nervous system was severely compromised. Another month of exposure would have been fatal. Sarah had been literally days away from death when she discovered the truth. The man who held her hand during doctor visits, who rubbed her shoulders when she felt weak, who promised to love her in sickness and in health, had been orchestrating her slow murder, while she thanked him for his devotion. During sentencing, I looked at David Mitchell and saw not the man who'd sat in my courtroom for weeks, but a representative of every spouse who believes their partner's life is worth less than their convenience. Mr. Mitchell, I said, you didn't just attempt to murder your wife, you tortured her. You watched her suffer daily, comforted her while you were the source of her pain, and planned to profit from her death. Don't forget to subscribe. This ending will restore your faith in justice. I sentenced him to 25 years without parole. This court cannot undo the months of agony you inflicted, but it can ensure you never have the opportunity to harm another person this way. As the bailiff led him away in shackles, David looked back at Sarah one final time. I'm sorry, Sarah. I never wanted to hurt you, but you did hurt me, she replied, her voice stronger than it had been in months. For 5 months,
months, you hurt me every single day. And the worst part? I thanked you for taking care of me. Monica received a sentence of 2 years for conspiracy, though she maintained she didn't know about the poisoning. The insurance company launched their own investigation into the forged documents. Sarah's medical team began treating her arsenic exposure with chelation therapy that slowly restored her health. Share this story with someone who needs to remember your instincts are trying to save you.
6 months after the trial, I received a letter from Sarah. She'd reopened her interior design business, stronger than ever. Jessica had transferred to a college closer to home. The house where she'd nearly died had been sold, replaced by a smaller place filled with light and hope instead of shadows and secrets. "Your Honor," she wrote, "thank you for listening when no one else would. This trial didn't just save my life, it taught me that surviving someone's worst intentions reveals your own strength." She'd also started a support group for women who'd survived domestic violence in all its forms, turning her near-death experience into a lifeline for others. The Mitchell case taught me something I'll never forget. The most dangerous predators often wear familiar faces, speak in gentle voices, and convince us their harm is love. They count on our trust, our loyalty, our unwillingness to believe that someone we love could want us dead. Ring that notification bell for more stories that prove justice, though sometimes delayed, is never denied. But Sarah's story also proves something else. When someone tries to destroy you, surviving their betrayal doesn't just save your life, it reveals who you really are when everything else is stripped away. Sometimes the person trying to kill you gives you the exact strength you need to live fully for the first time. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever ignored red flags because you loved someone completely, smash that subscribe button. Your support helps us bring more stories of survival, strength, and justice to light. Remember, your instincts matter, your pain is real, and you're stronger than anyone trying to silence you. If you liked the video, you are welcome to subscribe to the channel and leave your thoughts in the comments.